Hey, Stefan Savard here with Thor AV. Wanted to talk to you guys today about how the Thor Slate LED system goes together, and specifically we're going to be looking at the ground stacking system that we have. At the beginning, we've got the ground bar here, and this is a 1 meter wide bar that holds 2 panels, and then we have the rear bar, which they need to connect together. So what you're going to do is first we're going to take the rear piece, and if you look, there are pins here that go into the rear section to line it up. So we take this, put them together here, and then the 2 clamps go together, and we clamp those together, and now this is all one piece. So once this is assembled, we're going to go ahead and take it in to the rest of the ground stack system over here. So I may need to raise or lower it to get it to line up. And that's one thing, when you're setting up this system, leveling it is going to be your most important thing for the LED wall to go together without seams. So I latch that together, and now it's assembled as a full system, and depending on the size of the wall, you'll just continue along that. So the very next step is going to be leveling, and I've got 2 levels here. Just a standard level, which is helpful, but in reality, you really want to use a laser level for this, because it's not just about leveling one piece, it's leveling at every intersection, and each one of these ground bars has 2 feet in the front and 2 in the back. So what we're going to do, I'm going to take my laser level here and turn this on. And if you look coming out of the laser level, it will automatically level and give me a line on this bar. So if I just want the horizontal line, if I look at that, I can see the line here and here. And if I move this over, I first want to look at where this bar is and then where this one is, to make sure that we're level and that we don't have a scenario where the bars are down like this or like this. Because what will happen is if this has any sort of a V to it, the panels will want to collide and won't go together well. If this has an upside down V to it, what's going to happen is you're going to get a seam that's going to grow as you go up with the LED screen. So you're going to take your crescent wrench and then adjust each leg here to get it to be the proper height. And what I do is I'll move the laser level on down and look at where we're at. And if I need to raise one side, like this foot has no weight on it right now. All of these feet need to have some weight on them once the panel comes on, otherwise it'll begin to create a problem. So I'll go ahead and get a little bit on there. Look at my level, I've got a bubble level. My bubble level says I've got to come up over here just a little bit. And that looks good. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next step beyond leveling. Come on over with me now. We're going to take a look at the ladder truss system. And if you take a look here, we've got a single ladder truss and then 2 ladder truss connected to these back bars. Okay, so we're going to grab a ground bar, and it has a top and a bottom to it. On the top we have latches to connect to the next bar, and on the bottom we have the receiving holes for those latches. So the ground bar is going to set right down on there, nice and easy. You push the latch up and twist, push up and twist. Now that's secured. And we do the same thing when we grow the bars. However, the latches have an open and a closed position. So when you go to assemble them, they need to be in the open position where the latches are sitting this direction. So with the ground bar system, that's pretty straightforward to assemble up. Now, the next step, as you're bringing panels on, the panels themselves are only set on the ground bar. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one here. And as I take a panel out, it literally just sets on there. And the attachment methods are two ways, actually three. So the first way is side to side, the panels are going to attach to each other with this side latch. And this side latch is open and latched. So you want to run that up, push in, and you may need to push this button for it to latch, and then you put it down and it'll tighten up these two panels here. Now, the next step is going to be bringing a panel in on top, and the latch on top has an open and closed position. So you want the latch to be in the open position, which is in line with the panel. So let me grab one more panel and we'll bring it on top here. So what I'll do is bring the panel down in and just go straight down, and it'll latch and I can pick up. But in order to tighten it, you run that latch sideways and it ratchets. In order to loosen it, you have to push this to loosen. So as I bring this panel into the fold, what I want to do again is raise this up, and I'll need to line the panels up here. Push this in. Either you're going to push in hard, or you may need to push that button for it to latch and then tighten. So as you saw, as I tighten it, it pulls the panels together here. So again, as we assemble, we keep going that direction, but I don't want to assemble any more panels at this point because I don't have any connection point to keep it from tipping over. So the next piece we're going to show you is how to connect the panels to the rear ladder bar. We have these connecting blocks, and these connecting blocks have 4 bolts in them that are captured, and they go into the 4 corners of a panel. Then the connecting block will screw onto this latch that goes onto the rear ladder bar. So first things first, we never take and use a drill to start these screws because these panels are aluminum. We want to be very careful with the threads as we're putting these connecting blocks on. So we take the connecting block to the corner here, and I'm going to thread a screw in by hand just a little ways. And here on this I've only got 3 panels, so I'm going to get 3 screws. Now I've got them in finger tight. I've got a small Milwaukee drill with a clutch on it. So as you see, if I go down to number 2, there's not a lot of torque. If I go up to 16, there's a lot of torque. So we want to be down around 2 or 4, a very low number on the drill. And then we can go in once these have gotten in finger tight and go ahead and tighten these up. So again, we don't need to go real tight, but this is the connecting block for the panels. And when I bring the 4th panel in, I want this screw to be out so it doesn't interfere with the panel coming down. So the next step here is going to be bringing in the latch. So this assembly here is going to come, and you can go either direction. It's going to connect onto the pipe here. So and this can move up and down where it needs to go. And then you can see here, I've already got a couple screws. So again, we're going to start with just hand tight here. So finger tight. Finger tight. So now I want to make sure that this is level, and I can go ahead and tighten this up. And then this here also tightens depending on if the wall needs to move in or out. So I'm going to go ahead and snug that down and then just run these guys in. So again, we don't need to be real tight, just enough to keep it in place. So there we have it. We've got this secured from tipping over or tipping back. And now as we build the wall up, we'll bring the next level in and we'll bring in the next bar. So if you turn and take a look here, you can see we've got the next level built and the next connecting block connected to keep the wall secure. So this is the height we're going to go with this wall. We're only going to go 4 panels tall, but as you can see, we could keep going. And one of the key factors in when you're going over, say, 3 or 4 panels tall, it's critical that you're putting ballast on the back side of the LED screen here. So whether that's sandbags or something, because you want to keep the wall from tipping forward. It's not going to tip backwards unless you get a whole bunch of linebackers coming at it, but it could tip forward just the way it's set up. So those are the basics of the setup of the ground stack system. The next steps are going to be the power and data cabling. So for that, we have power cables, and the power cables are a Neutrik speak-on. You've got power in and power out, and they are long enough to either go panel to panel or diagonally from row to row. And in this orientation, I've got 4 panels tall, but I'm only running 2 circuits. So the way I'm going to come in is I'm going to bring the power in to, let's say, this panel here, and then I'll go diagonally up to this one, and then come down to this one, up to this one, down to this one, and so on. So you can do 2 rows of panels, or even 3 potentially, with 1 power source. From a data cabling standpoint, the data cables are just a Cat6. It's a Ethercon to Ethercon RJ45, and these are going to plug in down here. They just plug in, and then it'll plug into the next panel. And with the data cabling, I prefer to go straight across, and bring the data in from one end. To remove the data cable, you have to push this little pin here, and then the connector comes out. So it's a metal pin. It's a very secure connection that those go in with. And to remove the power cable, you pull back on the yellow and then give it a 1/4 twist, and then they just come out. To go in, they need to be oriented properly. It goes right in, and click and turn. Those are the basics. So stay tuned, and we'll go on to the data connections and the Novasar processor in a little bit.